This week, Helen Dixon, the Data Protection Commissioner in Ireland, will give testimony to the United States Congress regarding the protection of personal data and data subject rights, and how the EU is implementing enforcement of the General Data Protection Regulation that went into effect 1 year ago. Commissioner Dixon is an outspoken expert in the quickly evolving legal landscape, and her experience as a leading compliance officer is of interest to U.S. legislators looking to strengthen data protection rights of individuals. At the European Data Protection Days conference last year in Berlin, Commissioner Dixon was a key speaker who described the key compliance issues for companies doing business in the EU, and her direct outreach to internet companies like Facebook and Google to better understand their operational realities and efforts to comply with the regulations and data subject rights.
So I think certainly the bigger organizations we engage with, whether they're using tools, automated tools, or whether they're going to do it manually, they're very cognizant of the fact that failure to comply with data subject requests and data subject rights under GDPR attracts the higher level of fines and is going to be one of the key trigger points for supervision activity. So I think a lot of them are ready. We'll wait and see in terms of others. As a data protection authority that's already obliged to investigate every complaint we receive from individuals, and I mentioned we concluded about 2,600 investigations and complaints last year, 53% of the complaints we receive each year are already about access rights and failure of organizations to comply with access rights. So it's an interesting question. We're interested to see, are we going to see a whole deluge of complaints being lodged by individuals where those rights aren't met? It won't be for lack of warning to companies that this is coming down the track that it happens.
The paranoid in me suggests that it could be an avenue for activists getting even with companies and wanting to create confusion and chaos.
Sure, it could certainly be a way in which there could be organized hits on companies in terms of hundreds and hundreds or thousands and thousands of access requests, which is why any company that holds significant volumes of data on individuals and that may be subject to that type of activity is best building an automated tool in order to handle it. It also delivers the best control to users in terms of being able to download on a regular basis and in an easy way what data an organization holds.
What do you think are going to be the key triggers for any DPA going forward? First and foremost, I would imagine a breach would certainly trigger interest about what happened and what went on. Beyond that, how do you go in and do audits? What's going to trigger that?
So I mentioned that there are a number of inputs. You're right, the mandatory breach notifications are going to provide us with significant intelligence now about where risks for data subjects potentially lie. But we also have that obligation as EU data protection authorities under GDPR to handle every complaint from individuals. Now, what we've seen in the past is there isn't necessarily a direct correlation between what one individual complains of and what is a systemic area of high risk. But you can, over time, build up a profile of what bothers data subjects in terms of how organizations treat them and how they treat their personal data. So that will be another key input from us. In any case, whether it identifies systemic risks or not through those individual complaints that we handle, it will be a reason for supervision activity between us and a data controller and will bring us to the door of an organization. And I suppose depending on how an organization interfaces and engages with us when we're investigating an individual complaint, that may open up our eyes to other areas of risk that we want to go in and conduct an inquiry or an investigation in respect of. The other way in which I think we'll continue to get intelligence about what might be areas of risk to look at are through whistleblowing and media activities such as we've seen in recent times. I think this is going to be a trend to continue now that people's eyes are open in terms of how much personal data there is out there about them and how little control they perceive they have.
Reporting from Berlin, Germany, I'm Jeffrey Iavecchia.